but definitely not small stony, small polished stony color, which is SPS. That's no good. So it's a challenge to try and keep the nutrient level as low as possible. So how do we keep this level as low as possible? Okay, is through few methods. Okay, and it's all under this major category called filtration. Okay. Yep, filtration. I'm surprised my memory still can go on quite a while. Yeah, yeah, there we go, water quality. I think I missed one slide before talking about the nutrient. Okay. Then, in that case, how then do we maintain a good low nutrient water quality? That is through filtration. As I said, there are few ways of filtering your water. Okay? It can be mechanical by means of steamer, and I heard of Reefer using very, very fine micron filter, and it works for him. Yeah? Okay? Okay, there you go. Now, you can also have bacteria based, which is very powerful. Okay? And it can be either by regularly dosing bacteria, using a deep chem bait, or a sulfur reactor. It can also be a chemical racing base by means of so-called phosphate reactor. You put the resin in a phosphate reactor, let the water run through it. Okay, you come up with basically PO4 free seawater, and last, which is a combination of the above, which I understand that most of the reefers would employ at least 2 or 3 of these methods. Now, let me go on to the next slide. Now, actually I intend to show you a very horrible, scary picture about how a protein skimmer can work for a tank. Okay, but anyway, you can see that it is actually a collection cup of a skimmer that traps a lot of which is the dirty stuff. Okay. Now, imagine that this sort of thing can be extracted from your water. That means that the importance of a good skimmer. All right. Okay. A good skimmer and a bad skimmer really can affect your water quality. So I suggest that for those reefers who is progressing to advanced reefing in SPS, do not save on your skimmer. Get a good skimmer and from a reliable supplier that provides reliable service. I'm sure there are a few suppliers that can do that. Okay. Lighting requirements. Okay. Why is light important? Light is very important for SPS because I'm going to share with you why is light important, the types of lighting, and is it true that the more light the better for SPS? Now, why is light important? Basically, it has got to do with these 2 things called xanthellate. Okay, you got to be familiar with these little creatures and the process of photosynthesis. Now, SPS, I would say in general, almost impossible to survive, almost, without this symbiotic partner called zooxanthellae. Now they work together hand in hand. Both need each other's survival. Why? Because zooxanthellae, in order to escape from their prey, they actually hide underneath the tissue of SPS. So SPS provides a shelter for them. But in return, the zooxanthellae extract the sunlight that it receives. They photosynthesis, okay, and the product of this photosynthesis is nutrient, sugar, that nourish the SPS, and it's very important for this because without that, even the calcification cannot perform. Alright? So calcification is not just providing pH, providing calcium, but they also need a byproduct of this photosynthesis to build the skeleton and as well their new tissues and the new polyps. Then that's how SPS grow. Okay, so that briefly sums up why light is very important. Try an experiment, enclose your SPS in a dark box in your tank, and you'll probably see that they will be dead within a week maybe. Now the types of lighting for newbies, okay, there are the T5 and the very high output T5 light. There are the metal halide, and last but not least, the latest technology that is swarming the Singapore market is the LED. Vincent will be very interested to hear this, but he's very busy explaining to customers. Okay, now basically T5 and MH, they are the same. I may be too generalized, but actually they are the same because they basically provide almost equal amount of light intensity. The only difference is that T5 is a long narrow tube that emits light in a very evenly manner, whereas MH concentrates all its light in a point source manner. So the application of this can be quite obvious. If you have a fish tank that is pretty deep, maybe around 2 to 3 feet, and you wish that the light can penetrate all the way to the sand bed or the bottom if you don't have sand bed, then it is quite an obvious choice to use MH. Alright? Now, if your tank is shallow, okay, and you feel that you don't need too much of a penetration, but you want a very wide coverage, then a T5 would be a very good choice. Okay. There are pros and cons in terms of the heat generated, the power consumption and all that between the two. But honestly, in my opinion, to have a big tank and a full pack SPS, it might be worthwhile to have a combination of both. Yeah. Eventually, you will come to the conclusion that actually you need both. But it's not impossible to have just T5 alone to have beautiful SPS tank. I've seen many. Now the temperature for SPS, ideally, it should be between 25 to 26. Okay, I say ideally, and because I'm running at 28. Now, I think 25 to 26 should actually make the coral more happy. I'm running at 28 because I need to cut down my electrical cost. Okay, but they still survive. Yeah, they still survive, and they still color up pretty well. Okay. Now, flow. This is a commonly neglected factor by SPS users, really, and I can't stress the importance of this. The importance of flow for SPS actually, at least there are twofold. Number one is to bring food to the SPS. SPS do capture food, by the way. They don't just depend on the algae for the nutrients to the photosynthesis process. They do capture food. Okay? So flow actually brings food to the SPS. And also, it has to carry away the waste that is secreted by the SPS. Okay. Of course, some of these waste can become in the form of mucus, and this can be very chemically toxic to another species of SPS. So what happens is that the flow also carries away and dilute away the chemicals that are being transferred from another SPS. So basically, I think that it is like taking a shower for the SPS. So they keep them clean all the time. Okay? So it's very important for SPS to have a lot of flow. Now, how much flow then is enough? It really determines by the stocking of your SPS tank, how much and what is the rock shape, and how the flow is being channeled around your tank. But typically, in my opinion, for a 3 to 4 footer tank, which is quite classic in the SPS reefers in Singapore, I will suggest at least 20,000 flow and above. Yeah, at 20,000 flow, 20,000 liters per hour flow. So, now consideration when placing wave makers. Well, flow is very important for SPS. It doesn't mean that we can place SPS directly in front of the flow. Let's take, for example, those who are familiar with Vortex, which is the lower picture. This is a very, very good wave maker, in my opinion, as well as easy as well. But you should try to keep at least maybe 4 to 5 inches away, alright, so that the flow is not too strong for the tissues to degrade. Otherwise, you'll find that eventually the SPS, the polychlor flows up, and even to the extent that the tissue may be damaged and being blown off. So, just a general guideline. Any questions so far? No, I proceed.